Clinical observations of pathological narcissism reveal a pattern of behavior mirroring chemical dependency. In this system, the indispensable drug is narcissistic supply. This dependency is rooted in the early trauma that halts psychological development. To ensure survival, the developing psyche paralyzes and buries the vulnerable true self. This trauma triggers a massive, impenetrable defense, the false self, a rigid shell designed to absorb the world's impact. As a blockade, it deflects incoming arrows of objective reality, keeping the comatose inner core isolated from external truth. Because this shell is a fabrication, it lacks all internal ego functions. It cannot generate its own self-worth or provide any internal emotional regulation. The result is a hollow architecture, a system entirely dependent on outsourced hardware to run its internal software. To prevent this hollow architecture from collapsing, the narcissist requires narcissistic supply, the essential external data used to maintain the false self. The false self acts as a central processing unit, importing external validation to artificially emulate the operations of a functioning ego. This dynamic is reflected in the standard diagnostic criteria of the DSM-5, which catalogs the behavioral symptoms of this absolute external dependency. Because the need for supply is absolute, the narcissist views every human interaction as a strictly transactional extraction point. Other people function as nodes of supply, tools used for resource extraction, rather than autonomous human beings with their own lives. This creates a structural paradox. The narcissist relies entirely on the very people whose independent reality they must constantly reject to survive. The narcissist manages this dependency through a strict taxonomy of supply. Primary supply provides volatile, instant validation through high-intensity attention, such as fame, adoration, or even infamy. Secondary supply offers a stable baseline of accumulated validation found in long-term relationships, wealth, or professional reputations. The dashboard further distinguishes animate and inanimate sources. Animate supply requires live interaction, a human witness to verify the false self. Inanimate supply is found in digital reach. Metrics like group membership and page counts provide a measurable, impersonal form of validation. Broadcast metrics and view counts offer a way to harvest attention at scale without the complications of interpersonal intimacy. Supply also ranges from static to dynamic. Static supply is predictable and eventually becomes junk food that fails to sustain the ego. Dynamic supply is the exciting, active input that reinforces the narcissist's grandiose self-perception. While negative attention serves as valid fuel, the narcissist rejects fake supply. Compliments with hidden agendas trigger cold empathy, causing the narcissist to view the source as an insulting manipulator. The narcissist curates this system by assigning emergent roles to those around them, molding partners' personalities to fit specific functions in the supply chain. In this environment, human relationships are replaced by a managed supply chain designed to sustain a mechanical false self. If narcissism functions mechanically like an addiction, how does it differ clinically from classic substance use disorders? The classic addict seeks a rigid exoskeleton. They use the rituals and routines of their substance to escape from an overwhelming sense of external chaos. The narcissist, however, uses the flexible and inventive pursuit of supply to regulate their inner universe. They are not seeking an escape from chaos, but a thrill to replace the boredom of mundane reality. This reflects a core pathological difference. The classic addict is predominantly masochistic and self-destructive, while the narcissist is fundamentally sadistic and paranoid. A narcissist only resorts to masochism when their supply runs dry, using victimhood as a tool to reassert moral superiority as a martyr. Narcissistic addiction is an aggressive, adaptive survival strategy that has outlived its usefulness. When the curated supply chain breaks down, the narcissist experiences a chronic deficiency of validation. This desperate craving for attention drives the narcissist toward reckless behaviors, high-stakes gambling, dangerous driving, or risky sexual encounters. These risks generate an intense adrenaline rush that mimics the chemical high of narcissistic supply. This adrenaline temporarily bridges the grandiosity gap, the abyss between the narcissist's inflated self-image and their actual achievements. In this context, substance abuse and gambling act as secondary mechanisms, desperate tools used to manufacture supply when the primary system fails. Traditional behavioral modification and 12-step programs frequently fail when applied to narcissists. The failure occurs because these protocols target the secondary reckless behavior while ignoring the underlying personality disorder that drives the system. This traditional treatment path neutralizes the reckless behavior, but it misses the deeper psychological mechanism powering the addiction. Overcoming the addiction becomes a rare, impressive feat in the narcissist's mind. The recovery itself becomes new supply, rapidly filling the grandiosity meter of the false self. Standard addiction protocols inadvertently weaponize the narcissist's recovery, reinforcing the exact pathology they intend to cure. This success creates a relapse trap. Because the narcissist feels omnipotent and uniquely capable, continued therapy becomes a threat to their new sense of superiority. Admitting fallibility or a need for emotional support is deeply humiliating to the false self. To prove they control the addiction and can quit at will, the narcissist intentionally relapses, subverting treatment to maintain control. Effective treatment must bypass behavioral symptoms entirely. The clinician must focus on dismantling the grandiose structure of the false self to access the repressed emotional needs of the true self. Curing the addiction requires the structural dismantling of the false deity the narcissist has constructed for survival.